Level Up Latina partners with working women and mamas alike to guide them in achieving fulfilling career and life goals through financial empowerment, professional or leadership coaching, and personal wellness. Find the unique coaching you need to succeed.
You're listening to Vero, Ceci, and Irene, and we are Level Up Latina.
Welcome back to another episode of the Level Up Latina podcast. This is episode 186. We're so excited to have you here today. We are going to talk about relationships this week, but we're going to talk about a very special, wonderful, sometimes one-sided relationship, often one-sided, but a big blessing. Also one of the hardest relationships you'll ever form, but it's worth it. The relationship with your kids, balancing them in your life, with your marriage, with your wallet. We can go everywhere and anywhere with this. You do not have to have kids to like this episode. You have nieces and nephews. One day you may have kids. You might have people in your life that are like kids. So anybody that listens to this can relate. So today we're talking about that very special relationship with it, which is managing our life with our children. How are we feeling, mothers of multiples over there in the world?
Oh my God.
I know. We have all gone through different stages with our own kids. So I feel like this is a reoccurring topic. Okay, what's happening now? What are we doing with the kids? So this is a good topic to talk about now as we start a new year, as like our kids are getting older and things like that. I know Irene has a couple things to share about her own teenager. So I'm excited, just to talk about what's been happening. How are we building those relationships with our kids?
And for me, we're good. I'm learning each of these little people's personalities and their differing levels of emotionalness or sentimentales que son, and just learning who they are and being the kids that they're meant to be, right? And me just being, it's like their world, I'm just in it. It literally is kind of that. Like I'm a supporting actor, supporting role into who they develop and become, just giving them what they need. So it's crazy because each one at each age, they just, they're so close in age that I feel that when I'm done with one, I restart with the other. So, but it's an exciting moment. It's an exciting time. It's exhausting, but it's an exciting time.
I know, Vero, you're doing such a good job with your littles, and Sissy to have had multiples, everything happening at once. It's been beautiful to see. I am really proud of these two women that have come into their own as mothers. I have slightly older children, so my perspective will be different per usual, but it's all the same when they're little and when they're older. But you're going to get a little bit of everything today on the episode as to what it's like to just manage our crazy lives and our crazy schedules. What's really interesting that if you listen to our podcast because you were listening to us in our day-to-day life, this is probably the majority of what we talk about. In our day-to-day life, it's about a kid that's sick, a crazy situation, having to plan a birthday party, having to do whatever it is with their lives and revolving around their lives and working and them being around us. They're often on our show. Speaking of, ¿qué pasó? Someone walks in. Yeah. Oh my God. Their reactions were so funny. Literally what I just said, they make an appearance. Hola, mi amor. He's like, this is my show. Pego. He's got a chipote in his head like they always do. So being a parent is just a beautiful, amazing, incredible time in your life. It's also a very taxing time, a time where you lose yourself a little bit in the beginning, a time where you focus so much on your kids that it's hard to remember who you even were before you had them. It's interesting too, because after you have one, you're like, how the heck did I do that? Giving birth in and of itself is like a why in the world would I do that again? And then we often do it again. So I was just speaking to a client earlier today who has become a mom, and she's doing it in a way where she is adopting. And it's just so fascinating because from one day to the next, she became a mom. And in talking to her, and when she listens to the show, because she listens, she's a religious listener. I want her to know that I'm talking about her, and I'm so freaking impressed. And I am so floored by how well you've done at taking on motherhood. And the first lesson you've learned is how selfless we become, how focused we become on our kids and their happiness. And it happens from one day to the next. And you listening to this, you're going to hear this. You're going to be, that's for me. Yes, you are becoming a mother in an untraditional way, but the same way we all do, by becoming very focused on our kids and their happiness. So congratulations to you. So whatever your parenting looks like, maybe you're a stepmom, maybe you're their mom to your nieces and nephews, maybe you are a new mom, an older mom, it comes with such a balancing act. So I'm going to start with my amigasas here, ask them my first question about how they freaking do it. and they don't know what I'm going to ask. They usually don't know what I'm going to ask. We don't know when we moderate on purpose, so you can get the real gut answer. But I'm going to ask each of them, what's one thing you're really good at managing with your kids? And what's one thing that you need to go to therapy because you're so bad at it? Just kidding. One thing you're good at, one thing you're bad at. You don't need to go to therapy. You don't need a coach for it. No, what's the one thing you think you're killing? And then the one thing you're like, I still got to work on this after this many years. Like, what's your thing? And think about it, because you girls don't know I'm going to ask. So think about it. I can always start. Pero piénsenla bien.
No,
the one thing
I can tell you the
never start.
Because it's my gut,
Ya
like
sabe.
my reaction.
Vero's like, I got it.
I am really good at getting up and go. Let's go. Si va a ser algo así, like, let's be sporadic and let's just, hey, today, let's go to the beach. I could just get up and go. I'm really good at the let's have fun part. I'm having a harder time with where I probably need therapy, which I thought about it already. Like, my mom was very patient with me. Se pasaba de paciente. Mi papá también, no nos daban chingas seguido, but like, my parents were like freaking ideal parents, like apoyándonos, y yo siendo la más chiquita and just being the crazy rebellious one. I mean, I grew up on Defiance Avenue, so I just had to be defiant. I think it's me dealing with their defiance, them becoming these little people and saying like, okay, mom, that was cool, but no, we're not doing this. No, we're not doing that. So last night I was helping Gali with her homework, right? I told her, hey, Gali, you took a break from homework on Saturday, but your homework's due Monday and we need to do homework today. She's like, no quiero. I'm like, yo entiendo. I know you're having a great time over there. And like, I go through the steps of like, yeah, girl, I understand. It's totally fine. But not like that. Like, yeah, girl. But I'm like, yeah, Gali, entiendo. Like, yeah, that's really fun over there, right? Like, all these doctors tell you go in that process. Like, yeah, I understand. Like, that's fun. I know you want to keep doing that. However, this is the next thing we do. And I go through that process and she's still like, F you, mom. I don't want to do that. And then it's like, okay, all right, let's try something new. I totally get it. And you're going to keep going. You're going to keep having more fun. You just need to do 4 pages of homework. And then it's like, no. And then it's like, okay, now la chingada wants to come out, right? The Mexican mom wants to come out and say like, look, little fucker, like, it's my decision. You're going to have to do this because I tell you so. But that's what I want to like prevent. So, and what I'm saying is like, I didn't have that issue growing up. Why is it now like soy tan desesperada to get them to like, just respond? So for me, I'm really good at let's get up, let's do something different, let's go. Who cares si se cagan en el camino, we'll buy diapers, whatever. It's more like, let's do it. But then when it comes down to the more like simple everyday stuff that I think it's not simple, the complicated everyday stuff where you get the no's consistently, where I need to, my emotions, I think myself, I just have, my emotions have to like kind of, it's not against me. Don't take it personal. Breathe through this. Each one of these little punks is different, right? Little shits, says he caught me. Each of these little dudes are different. Just let them be. And yeah, like Joaquin overstimulates. I'm already like, I have 4 little ones. So it's like, I don't have, like, I feel my body's not mine. It goes from like having them, carrying them, having them, nursing them. And then it's like constant touching. So it's just like, I know that I'm overstimulated. I know that I have a lot going on. I'm exhausted. And that patience piece of like, making it to count to 10 after I've tried to do everything else, then it's the part I need to work on a lot more.
¿Y tú, Ceci, chula?
I think I'm really good at like planning things for them or like making sure that they don't miss like, things at school. Like, okay, it's like, the whole science project. This whole week they have like Spirit Catholic School Week or whatever. So every day they have free dress, like get Wacky Wednesday, get class color day. So I was like, okay, I put it on the calendar. I don't want to miss it. And I think part of it is because growing up, things like that, my parents didn't speak the language, no sabían. So in my brain, it's like, okay, I want to make sure that I don't forget any of those special events. I don't want them to feel left out at school. So things like that, or just planning like, I don't know, like, last year I planned like our whole spring break for them and things like that. The part that I'm still lacking, and it's just like, I remind myself, is just the patience with them in the morning, the patience, que tiendan su cama, and like, I've told them like, I don't like yelling at you guys in the morning. It's very exhausting. Please, like, levántense, tiéndanse su cama. And then I lose my patience así, rapidísimo, where last week I'm like, okay, you guys aren't doing this. I took a box of Barbies, and it's in the garage. And I'm like, I'm not going to bring it back up until I see that you guys are disciplined and managing the things in the morning that you guys are supposed to. I'm like, I want like a couple of days of that before I bring it up. And I'm like, am I being realistic? I like question, like, am I being realistic? Like, there's two 6-year-olds here. Like, sí entiéndanme, because I feel like I've tried everything y nada de eso ha funcionado. But at the spur of the moment that I lose my patience, like, that's the only thing that I think of, you know, like, okay, le quito el juguete y se lo regreso when I've seen that they're responding or that they're haciéndome caso. But it's like, that's the things that I lose my patience with, like, especially in the morning, because that's always like, go, que rápido, que this, que put your clothes on, que let's go do your hair, this, that. And so now I tried to at least just give them 1-2 warnings. I'm like, all right, you guys haven't done X, Y, and Z. You have 2 more minutes to eat your breakfast. Si no, if you don't eat your breakfast, I'm sorry, but you guys are going to go to school without your breakfast. And de repente works, you know. And so that's where I'm at right now. Cause it's like these 2 little girls that, they have a love and hate relationship with each other, se pelean, but that they can't be without each other. So it's like, oh, and then, and they're starting, at least one of them, she's starting to like want to be independent. And she's like, I want to do this activity. She's like, but I don't want, you know, my sister in this class. I'm like, all right. I'm like, that means more work for us. Get splitting up, you know, activities. Like, you do this, I do that. So that's where I'm at. I'm like, oh God, okay, here we go. Let's see how we can work this into the system this spring. So that's where we're at. I'm tired just talking about it.
I know. You get tired talking about it. I heard it's good to separate twins.
Yeah.
I just shared on the chat because I was like, I don't know if it was, but Ceci, I feel you 100% when you're like, I took the bin out. So I told you guys about the time that I told them, voy a tirar toda la basura. And I just collected a bunch of stuff after and they were like, had an attack, un ataque. But I had to stop saying that because now they say it to each other and they think it's okay. Like, oh yeah, no me quieres prestar eso, pues yo te voy a tirar tu tren a la basura. And they're like threatening each other. And I was like, okay, they learned that from me. That sounds terrible. I don't want to do that. So I had to stop saying that because now they se amenazan. Like, if you don't stop, I'm going to throw your stuff away. If you don't clean up, I'm going to throw this stuff away. And it's like, no, that's not cool. So I had to share that because that's something I had to stop doing también. Por perder la paciencia, because it doesn't help no les ayuda. It helps for like a day, and then it's like they forget about it.
Yeah.
I think every freaking mother in the world says like patience is the one thing I haven't mastered. Like, that's for sure. And I think that if there was a competition, I'd probably be the most impatient of the 3 of us here. But it's interesting that moms always think they need more of that. I definitely grew up with a very impatient father and an anxious mom because my dad was impatient. So we're like a go kind of family because I think I am that way. And my husband likes it too, but he's not as like that. So he's the patient one here. So that's where I always need to be better and more patient with the kids. I'm a yeller. I don't hit my kids. I pour a lot of belief into them. I can say I'm sorry. I can spend one-on-one time with them. I can admit when I'm wrong. I can do all those things right. But I definitely raise my voice. I'm a voice raiser for sure. And my kids know why. They're always like, oh shit, we weren't really listening. So she raises her voice. And I always say, I don't want to raise my voice, but it feels like you're not listening when I don't raise my voice. That's the one thing that I could work on not doing, like not raising my voice. What I think I do well with my kids, and again, they're a lot older, so I feel like I have some remnants or authority in seeing how it is now with older kids. But I think I do a really good job of like having a mindset and a culture that is our family. And I like that. I like that I'm always really speaking to who we are as a family, what we deserve as a family, how we deserve to get along, how we deserve to be in the world, how we deserve to shine. And I just have that. I have that like ability to tell my kids, you know, they matter. They have to take up space. Their voice matters. My daughter is very soft-spoken and agreeable, and she will often let her brothers win. She will let mom and dad win. She will let her friends win. She just has this way about being like a middle child, but a very agreeable middle child. She's never once been like, oh, look at me, give me that. She's not selfish. She's not making a scene. She will disappear if you allow it. And it's interesting because she's the actress of the group. She wants to be on the stage. She wants to be in shows. She wants to be seen. But at home, it's like the opposite of who she is. It's quite interesting. So I'm always telling my daughter about how I want to hear her voice. I want to hear her voice. I want to hear her stand up for herself. I want to hear her share what she feels. I want to hear her voice. You know, it's important because she will just let everybody else decide and win. And the other day it was interesting because I was doing 1,000 things. I was on the phone. I'm changing a reservation for my brother. I'm carrying all these things. She's hiding from a friend outside and she finds out I'm leaving. So she's like, "You're leaving? I wanted a ride." And I'm like, "Mama, give me a second. Like, I'm just getting into the house." Never mind. She just says, "Never mind." And it's so her, like, it's so hard to be like, "Never mind," you know, because she just doesn't want her voice to be heard. But we know now with that tone that, like, it's because she doesn't have her voice be heard. So we walk into the house, I have a million things or whatever. I'm like, "What do you want me?" I'm like, tell me, I'm listening. I can listen now. I put my stuff down. I hung up the phone. "Mama, tell me, this is what we always talk about. Tell me what you want to say." She's like, "Well, I just needed a ride to McDonald's to use my gift card." I go, I can take you. I just changed the reservation. I'm not leaving." "Yeah, but you kind of gave me attitude when you got here." And she actually told me that. And she doesn't like ever say anything. I'm like, "You're so right. That is so spot on. Thank you for sharing that. I want to say I'm sorry. I want to say you're right. I want to say I'm wrong." And she's looking at me with these big eyes and I could tell that she's liking it and she's smiling it and I'm gassing her up. And I'm like, "See, it's so great when you communicate because you're getting I'm sorry. You're getting you're right. Like, but if I don't know, if you just drop it, I'm the bad guy. You don't know what's going on. We don't communicate. Thank you for communicating with me. You're super right. I'll take you to McDonald's in a second." Whoop-de-whoop. She was fired up. But that whole story is to illustrate that, like, we're not going to get it right. We might get it messy. It might be a mess. Someone maybe looks like they have attitude or raise their voice. But there's this culture in my family. There's like this culture of like, you get to talk. You get to take up space. You get to like share. You matter. And so we always tell the kids, like, you deserve a great family and you've got one. And I think that we do right. Like, Diego and I are very much about like who we are, lead with our gifts, be here, take up space. And we've done it since they were little. And Isaiah always, it's clear that he believes all these great things about himself because that's just how he was raised and not in an ego sense. I mean, the kid just failed his driving test today. He didn't get his first job. Like, there's plenty of failure happening too, but it's a sense of like, I deserve a great life and I've got one. I deserve great grades, so I have them. I deserve great friends, so I seek them out. Like, I want my kids to have this culture of deserving what they deserve and that it's all good and great stuff. That we do well, but we yell and we don't have patience. That's what I would say. All right. So you've heard a little bit from different age groups, from a little baby that's 6 months old with baby Maura at Vero's house to a young man that's 16 years old in my house, learning to drive and at winter formal and staying out till 1:40 in the morning. Jeez Louise, life has changed.
Wow. See,
Life has changed. But anyway, in all of that, we have lives. We go to work. We have husbands. We have multiple children. How the heck are y'all doing it? How are you doing it or not doing it? Who helps you do it? What do you pay for? Like, how do you make that magic happen? Because man, logistically, having many children and a boo and a job and a podcast and a grandparent and a grandfather and a blah, 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 I can go on and on. ¿Cómo la hacemos, mujeres? ¿Cómo chingados la hacemos?
Well, let's admit up front that we're not perfect. I'm going to admit up front. I'm not going to admit it for you guys. You guys are you individual peoples. Las voy a dejar ser. For me,
We're not perfect.
I'm not perfect. I'm human. And even though I use Google Calendar, if I put reminders on my phone, if I have like a write-up calendar in the kitchen where I sometimes, it's under the calendar, but I'll remember something like, let me write it down there because that's a visual for me. I'll add it then later on to my Google Calendar. And then I set alarms. I set reminders. I use Post-its. I use physical agendas as well because sometimes I need to empty out everything that's in my head. And even then I forget shit. Not often, but I will forget. It's just that there's too much going on the daily that I feel that naturally our brains just does that, right? It's like, oh, well, if you really need to, that's important. Let's flush this out para que no se te olvide esto. So I'm not perfect. I do tend to forget, but I use everything. I use every tool I can. And I never say like, no, that's not going to work for me. If I hear someone say, I live by this, I'm like, let me try it out. I tried out the Panda calendars. I tried out, every different kind of tool. Like I've tried Asana. I've tried, the, Evergreen, I think is that other, work, assignment thing for my personal life outside of work. So I've tried several things and I still was like, okay, it minimizes the forgetfulness. It minimizes those mistakes, but it still happens sometimes, and then another thing, I rely on help. I constantly ask for help. And, right now I had to let go of my nanny. So I'm still in search of a nanny, But my mom is like, I'll step in while,
Why? Is there gossip there? ¿Qué pasó con la mami?
Oh, con la otra? Ay, girl, it's because my mom. It's because she was my cleaning lady / nanny. So my mom was like one day following her around our house. And I told her, Mom, my mom used to clean houses. My mom used to clean houses.
My mom's the same way, Vero.
Girl, I just can't. So I was like, she's like, pues es que tú, like, you should pay attention to what she's doing. Que está faltando respeto para no limpiar bien. I'm like, I don't think so. I'm like, because she didn't clean one blind, but she ended up cleaning over there. That's fine with me because I can give a shit about this blind, but I'm okay with her washing that toilet. I was like, my expectation was a little different than my mom. So that's why at the end, my mom would tell her like, hey, you forgot to clean there. Or, hey, can you please clean over here? And I told her, Mom, just tell me. So one day I noticed she brought someone to help her because the house we don't have a lot of stuff in the house, but the house está amplia. Está pretty, we went from
it's very big.
Barely maybe 1,057 square feet to almost 2,300 square feet. So it's significant. And there's a lot of kid stuff everywhere. So I need help. I'm like, I clean, but I maintain it, but I can't deep clean as often as I used to. So one day I walk into my room because I told her, I wanted to tell her, I was nursing at the time. I wanted to tell her, hey, can you please do me a favor and clean behind this nightstand? Because I noticed there's cobwebs, there's little spider webs. So I go to tell her, I'm like, hi, but oops, I was about to say her name. Beep. Can you please do me a favor and clean here? And she was like, I already did. And she gave me attitude, right? But when I was walking in, she was like kind of like making faces and like sending the girl that she brought to help her, like making faces. And she looked at me, she's like, ay, es que yo ya no puedo trabajar cuando tu mamá está aquí. And I was like, girl, first of all, you're getting paid. So you should be able to do your work. And if you don't know how to do something, say it. That's fine. Just let me know. Okay. Second of all, don't be talking about my mom in my house. If it comes between you and my mom, even though I love that you help me, I can find someone else to replace you. You're replaceable. My mother isn't. So get the hell out. So that's how it happened, unfortunately, right? But that's where I'm at. So I don't mind paying for the help. I'm over. And I told my mom, you know what, Mom? It's just that things. And I had to talk to her even from that because I was like, Mom, I'm going to hire somebody else. And I already did. But I was like, look, you need to understand that your expectation and the way you want your house cleaned is very different than how I want my things done at my house. So I don't go to your house and tell you, do this, do that, do this. I'm like, but you definitely feel comfortable coming in here and saying that. But this is my house. And I'm not telling you in the way of like, get out of your head que no es tu casa.
Yeah.
But just
no por ser grosera.
No por ser grosera. But I'm like, just understand, Mom, because I don't want this situation to happen again. So that was the situation. I have a new cleaning lady who's amazing, you guys. I love her. Es super chingona. She's from Honduras. Love her to death. If anyone needs a cleaning lady in the LA area, she's on Long Beach. Super cool lady. Y buenísima para limpiar. Like, anyway, love her to death. So for me, asking for help. So my mom helps me with the kids. I'm in the transition of looking for a nanny. But while I'm doing that, we're adjusting to a new routine of getting Joaquin to stay at preschool till 2. Because before I just felt like I was going around in circles. Like I would get home at 9 from dropping off all the kids, Gali and Joaquin. And then by 11 something, I had to go back already and pick up Joaquin. So it was like, I didn't have a morning. It was like I couldn't schedule anything. I couldn't schedule coaching calls. I couldn't schedule podcasting with you because I couldn't schedule anything to actually get work done because I quickly had to go and get him again. So I'm like, no, let's try it since we haven't been able to find a nanny. Let's extend his time at the preschool. And he loves it. So we tried it out for the first week. He loved it. So he's staying there till 2 now, which is perfect. I leave the house at 1:50. I go pick him up, by 2. At 2, we head over to get Gali, and we're there by 2:15 when she's let out, and then we're good to go. And for me, it's important that my kids are good in order for me to be able to function, right? So then there's that. And then, like I said, I rely on help. I ask for help sin vergüenza. And I do plan things like I have to. I wasn't much of a planner. I think I went on our stories this weekend to kind of talk about that because I'm, I was very lackadaisical, que viva la vida, let me go with the flow. In my personal life, that's how I was just because I could. I was single, I didn't have kids. If one weekend I wanted to go to Chicago with Ceci, I would go to Chicago with Ceci. If one weekend I wanted to go to San Francisco and visit my brother and chill out and get an extended weekend, I would do that. If I wanted to fly wherever, I would do that. But life changes with kids. So I've had to implement different things, and it has been challenging for me because in my personal life, I was not used to doing that because I could get up and go and do things whenever I chose to do it. So that's been a big challenge for me. Hence why I've had to implement different systems and be open to trying new things in order for it to work for me to manage my kids and preparing them. I think, Ceci, I learned this from you, where you were like, I need to, I think it was Paula that's really difficult with change, right? And I was like, but I think it's helpful to tell them like, hey, tomorrow or this week, we're going to do this. And it kind of helps them, instead of being a surprise, that they're like, oh yeah, Mom, you said we're going to do that. Cool. And they remember, and they're more like willing to help, because kids sometimes will be the ones that wreck your plans because they don't mean to, but that's just how it happens. So it's our job to kind of keep the flow going. But yeah, that's me right now.
Bravo. My maid also quit because of my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law micromanaging her and judging her, and she rolled the hell out of there. So that's a conversation for another day, but careful of your moms and mother-in-laws impeding on the help that you do have. Good luck finding an exceptional nanny. I'm really glad that you got another cleaning lady that works out. A ver, Ceci, what are your tips and tricks for the moms right now? ¿Cómo le haces?
Shit, ¿cómo le hago? Definitely agendas all around. I have my personal agenda that has my work stuff, my Level Up Latina stuff, my kids stuff, even my husband stuff. Like, it's all written down, and like, I like to cross things off when they're done. I have my separate one for my legal, like, a calendar, because that's the one I carry like to the office back and forth. I have everything on Google Calendar, on shared calendar with the hubby, on Google Calendar with like our business. So todo eso, and with reminders. And even then, yeah, a veces like se olvidan las cosas. Like, a veces we just have too many things on our mind. So that is helpful. I've also been better at like not double booking myself, not doing too many things on the weekends. Like yesterday, nomás like fuimos a misa. The kids had like misa, and then we were just at home watching movies, and then we went to go eat like at a place that was walking distance. We tried something new, and I'm like, I really need one day like that a week to just recharge, and I need that to continue on. I've also been doing therapy. Well, it ended in December, and I'm trying to get my therapist reapproved again, but that has helped. One thing that I've noticed that I need for sure is to get mentally prepared for things. Like, I mentally prepare for my week ahead. I always and put my phone away because it distracts me. But I always and I've talked about this before, like Sundays in the evening before bedtime, I like do my agenda, I write things in, I look at my week ahead, I know what's to expect. I even have like a little family one that if it involves Luis or like the family, then I have a separate one for the week, and I have that in the kitchen. So it's there, it's visual. Our menu's there, what we're going to eat during the week, things like that. It just helps me. When I'm going to have a hard conversation, I also need to like kind of like create the mental space for it. Like with my husband, like ayer or antier, the other day, he was like first thing in the morning, we started talking about something family related. I was like, and it kind of got me overwhelmed. And I told him, I was like, I need like space. Like, hey, I want to have this conversation. Like, can we talk about it? I'm like, because you told me first thing in the morning, like my mind, I wake up and like, and I'm now I've created this habit of doing a meditation through the Calm app, like 7 minutes. Like, I do it every day, mostly every day. Also on the weekends if I have time, and it just ¿cómo se dice? Like, it just centers me. So I need that. And I've been more, you guys have probably noticed it. I've been more quieter on like the group chats, because también me consumen, like I can't, like, I just feel like my life is so busy right now. There's so many things on my plate that me trato de, I try to put my phone away more and, come prepared, ready for like different meetings, and like mentally prepared, because I have so much going on. Like, I had a doctor's appointment today, and then me está hablando un social worker for one of my parents, and I'm just like, I was like, I need to take this call. I was like, okay. Luckily it was like, ya había terminado con my doctor's appointment, but it's just like, oh my God, todo el día, like me siento así, like todo el día. So that's what helps me, like therapy, exercising. Like, I'm going to exercise today. Like, it's going to happen. Like, at one point during the day, it's going to happen today. I have a coaching client later today. So I want to have my workout in before I have my coaching clients, so that I can, vengo preparada. I want to be prepared and just be mentally there for her. You know, she's paying for my coaching, and I want to be there for her. So those are all the things that help me and that have allowed me to continue. Like, it's like, no sé cómo le haces, chula. No sé cómo le haces. I'm like, these are the coping mechanisms that I've learned, and this is what's helping me. I'm not saying that I'm not perfect. You know, there's weeks that I'm like, shit, you know, the shit hit the fan. I just can't. And, but then I pasa un día or two, and then I'm like, okay, let me remind myself, okay, what's going to help me? What do I need to do? What's priority right now? So those are some of the things that allow me to do everything on my plate and definitely seek help. I have my nanny / cleaning lady coming. She comes once a week because aunque sea un día que esté la casa limpia, it's fine because we all know with smaller kids que no dura.
There's a difference en casa sucia y regadero de toys a que casa sucia limpia con regadero. You know, like it's just different. So I feel you.
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm. And I'm speaking from the fact that I have dogs. No, it's that those were beautiful tips of the day, actually. And I think the number one tip that I heard was that it's okay to embrace that you're not perfect. Don't try to be perfect. No one is perfect. There's no such thing. You won't have perfect kids. You won't be a perfect mom. You won't have a perfect house. So accept that and live in that imperfection and find your coping mechanisms, like Ceci said. Find your help, like Vettel said. I don't have much more to add because I completely echo all their wonderful pieces of advice and how they're managing and how vulnerable they're being with how hard it can be and how it goes in waves, and sometimes you have it together and sometimes you don't, and that's okay. You need space. The one thing I would add that's unique and different is that I expect my kids to help me, and I always have expected them to help me. And I just learned that early on from a class that I took, and I've said this on a previous podcast, so I won't belabor the point, but they can do more than we realize. And so they should be washing their own clothes. They should be doing their dishes. They should be doing the family dishes, right? They should be looking after their pets. And as they get older, they need to do more. You know, my son who's 16, he does a lot more than the little ones, but he does a lot. And sometimes I wonder, like, man, what a great like lifestyle, because at least he'll expect his life to be like that. But it was all because Diego and I were not going to do it for him. So we don't walk his dog, and he is like diligent. Like he's walking the dog at 10 o'clock at night sometimes, and I don't expect him to. And he's still out there. He's like, the dog needs it. The dog was kind of whiny. So he has his set of responsibilities, and now he works for his dad, and he's like on it, and he works his schedule around getting to do the things that he does for his dad, almost like an administrative assistant. But I think it stems from the fact that he always had to do dishes. He always had to do his own laundry. He always had to clean if he wanted to go out. Like now he is on our car insurance, and he's like a $300 bill on our car insurance. And my husband's like, well, you work for me or you work for someone else, but we're not paying for you to have car insurance. So it's this life of expecting them to empieza desde que son chiquitos. Like you got to have the money, you got to save the money, and then you can spend your own money once you've saved it, once you've given it back. And the little one, he's very independent. He gets money and he's like ready to walk to the liquor store every day. Ahí lo dejo, and he's so proud and he's so excited. He puts his coat on, takes his money. So just teaching them those life skills that help us not go crazy. I wouldn't have more than one kid if I didn't see how helpful my husband was. Like I knew early on that I was a very go person, but also impatient. And so his level of help, him being a good partner, it's an extension of that. Like it started with my husband. My husband will help me, and thank God for that. He's not perfect. So of course, he does the laundry and it's in the garage for as long as I need to like beg him to please bring me socks. Like, please, like it's been a month. I can't buy any more new ones. Like it's life. It's life, guys. So having a team.
I'm out of my 30 calzones. Can I just go buy some more at Victoria's Secret? The 5 for 25?
No way. No, no les miento. I'm so sick and tired of that yo compro socks and underwear. And then one day he decides to do them, and I'm like, why do I have thousands of socks and underwear? He's like, because I've been meaning to fold like the thousands of socks and underwear that you have. Anyway, it takes a village, man. Like use your kids, use your husband. Obviously these girls mentioned their spouses, but I want a special shout out to the help that you have. And it doesn't have to be a spouse. It could be your best friend, sister, cheerleader. It could be your neighbor, the person you paid for, but help is there for a reason, and actually let them help you. Let kids help you. Let them do more than their share. Let them know how hard it is to like run a household. Like my kids know, you don't just get up and go. You guys want to go somewhere? Do we tidy up? Do we do our bed? Personal hygiene is like super important. All these little things I expect them to do it, and I don't want to micromanage it. So they know like, oh God, mom's not gonna let me go. I got to clean up this room. I got to take care of my errands first. So that's, I think, how we manage here. It takes a team. Any last minute thoughts? We're going to wrap this one up. It's short and sweet. It's just to give you a flavor for the episode of managing your children, managing your life, making it happen. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Good balance. Good variance. We're going to get back to managing our lives. That's why it's quick and dirty. I want to remind everybody that they can find us on leveluplatina.com. At Level Up Latina is our handle on Instagram and Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at Latina_up. You can sign up for one-on-one coaching. If this resonated with you, please come check it out at our website, at the link in our bio on Instagram. Any one of us would be honored and privileged to work through this with you and these things that we've learned and the way that we're imperfect but moving along, and especially as it relates to family and children. So that's it. That's a wrap. Stay warm out there. It's been cold. Las quiero mucho. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing.
Besos.
Yes, don't forget to level up.